Now, we have a chart, and this is formatting the graph, formatting the chart in various ways. And there are so many items in here that this is just a random list of ways and things to do, so that there's no particular rhyme or reason for this or order. So we'll pick one and do it. All right, first thing, if you click in the chart and then go up to Chart Design, over here on the far left, there is Add Chart Element. And we can add axes titles, axes, chart title, data labels, data table, and on down that line. Right? Or if I go to the plus box on the right-hand corner of the chart, I get exactly the same menu as with the Add Chart Element. And it doesn't matter which one it is, they both do exactly the same thing. So I'm going to add axis titles. When I click axis titles, it puts in a title for X and Y. And as long as the box here is highlighted, I can go to the input line and add a title. Enter, and it moves that title into that spot. Go to the X title, click, and you can type either in the box directly, or you can go to the input line, and this is animal type. Enter, and there is the title for that. I can also put in a graph title. Chart title. Click that, it puts up the box, and I can either go to the input line or type directly into the box. And there we have a chart title. So this can be done either through the plus minus on this side, or go to Chart Design and Add Chart Element, and it puts in all of the things you can do. One thing that you can do once you have all of this is change the colors, change the font, change almost anything about this particular chart. I'm going to click on the X-axis titles and make sure it's highlighted, and then I can change the font for this. If I right-click on the title and go to Font, I get a box that shows the ways that I can do this. I can change the font size, I can change the type, I can change the text type, and so on. Right? This is fairly limited because you have to change the size a little at a time, or you have to type it in directly. So I'm going to go to the highlighted box and then Home. The Home on the main menu, and here in the text type I can change the font size. I'll make it bigger. I can change the type if I want, and we have all of the usual selections. Let's just leave it as Calibri. or I can make it bold or italic, underline, anything of the sort. Right? Any text on any graph can be done the same way. So if I go to the y-axis title, make sure it's selected, go to the font size, go to the bold, italic, whatever, we'll just leave it at that. So now I have the x-axis title and the y-axis title in a different font size. On the axis itself, if I right-click on the axis, I get a Format Axis possibility. Now I'm going to click on Format Axis. On the far right, we get this list of things, the first of which is the bounds. I can change the y-axis. This starts at 0 and goes to 35. I can change it to whatever number I want. It does its best to make it fit. And I can put in the units, major units, minor units. I can put in tick marks. And they are in, out, across. Minor tick marks the same way, in, out, across. If I go to the paint bucket, I can go to line, and this is the actual axis itself. So I want to make this into a darker axis, and I can change the weight of that line just by clicking there, and you can see that the line has increased in weight and now in color. Also, now that I have the box highlighted, I can go up to the font again. I want this to be, say, 12, and I want it to be bold. And there is the title and the axis labeled. Go to the y-axis, right-click on the y-axis, make sure it's highlighted or selected, Format Axis, and I have all of the same options as I did before. This is exactly the same in every chart type. Regardless of what you're doing, the chart has various commands and they never change. Here I've changed the color, and I've changed the weight of the line. Almost changed the color. There we go. So here I have this. Also, now that this is highlighted, I can go to the font again. I'll make it size 14, go up, make it bold. And oftentimes when you see the chart begin, it doesn't look like the type, the color of the type is correct. And if you go up into the Format command and go to Font Color, it has sometimes a default color that is not black or isn't what you think it is. So this one, right-click in there, and I can go to the Font command as well. Here I want to change it to dark. Right now it's at 2 shades lighter. And I can do the same for the axis title. So it has some strange defaults in it. I can do the same thing with the chart title. Then there are a variety of other things that can be done, and this goes with any kind of chart type. Here on this axis, what I have now instead of dogs, cats, birds, and others, is 1, 2, 3, and 4. It is purely a sequence. If we go to the chart, go into the chart, right-click, and select data. Over on the right-hand side is the horizontal axis categories. Right now it's 1, 2, 3, 4. If I click on Edit, it gives me a box, and I'm going to choose cats, dogs, birds, other. And now on the chart x-axis, I have the species of animal. Again, I can make this into any font type I want, any weight. And in particular, this is not black again. And there it is in black. So that any text on a chart can be treated exactly the same way. Now we want to look at changing the actual lines, the bars, and this applies also on the XY axis to the color of the markers in the graph. So I right-click on one of these, and here at the bottom is Format Data Series. And up on the right, I get Series Options. Now it defaults to this bar chart kind of thing. And this, I can control the overlap or the gap width between the bars. If we move closer, we increase the gap width. We move the other direction, it decreases the gap width. The series overlap actually overlaps if you want to do that, or you can move it down until it is neutral again. And you can use the slider or the up-down. Turn it to 0. And now all of these things are right next to each other. Again, if I right-click inside one of the bars and Format Data Series, I go back to my previous menu. Now, if I go to the bucket, I can change the border color for a particular series. Right now it's set for automatic. I can choose solid line and make it darker. And this puts a black line on the side of each one of these markers, each one of these bars. I can change the transparency. I can change the line weight. I can make it a compound type. There's a variety of things that are possible in here. Or if I want to change the fill, here I have automatic fill, which is some kind of orange. I'm going to make it a solid fill, and it will change it all to blue. I can say no fill, and it removes the fill entirely. So to make sure that these can be seen, we'll make it a solid fill, and in this case, we'll make it red. Now I want to change and add data labels. Here is Add Data Labels. This is distinct from Format Data Series. And by default, it picks a number and it uses the ones from the original data table, so that 15 dogs, 28 cats, and so on. If I right-click on the other series, I can add data labels as well. Once I have data labels, if I right-click on one, I can format the data labels. And I get the usual. On this menu, I can get value from cells. I can get series name, I can get category name. Here at the moment it defaults to value. Instead of the value, I want to use the series name. And this is the name of the veterinarian. I can take off the value itself and it leaves the name. Or I can get values from cells. And again, this I can choose some range of numbers or identifiers or whatever I want and put that on those data labels. I can change the label position. Right at the moment, it is on the outside end. I can put it in the center. I can move it to the inside end or inside the base. We put it back on the outside. Here I have a marked box, and I can do the same text adjustments as before. And any chart type has exactly the same controls, and if you can do one, you can do any of the others. In this one, I have X, Y, and Z. If I right-click on one of the points, I have Add Data Labels and Format Data Series as before. If I format the data series, I can change the line, which is the line on the graph, and this has no lines. It doesn't need lines. If I put in lines, it connects all of the dots in order. I remove the line, or I can go to markers, and here I can have different kinds of fill on the markers so that I can change the fill color of those markers to yellow. The other item that you have to consider is the line that's around the marker, the border, so that if I want to change the border to match the color of the marker, I have to change it there. And again, go to the top, click on Marker Options, and here we have built-in markers. It's got an automatic default. If I do built-in, there is a list of things that I can do, the types that I can have, the shapes I can have, and the size of the marker. The more you blow it up, the more it blows up. Solid fill, the border color, the lines that are around it, and the markers themselves. So those are the things I can do with the Format Data Series. If I do this for the other series, I would change the markers. I want a solid fill now, but now I want them to be red. The border, I want a solid line, and it defaults to what it had before. Here, I can make it a black line around there. The marker options to change the size. Built-in marker, it's a circle. Change the size. I can change the built-in type marker. Make it a square. And now I have a black boundary around those points with a red fill on those. The axes, the titles, the chart title, all the rest of it is as before, and you can get that here from the plus mark on the upper right hand corner, Or if I have the chart selected and I do chart design, then I have the add chart element menu that matches the one that is on the upper right hand side with the plus mark. So those are the basics of data labels, data values, format data labels, change the axis colors, change the axis weight, change the font of the axis, add the titles, a variety of things. And there are other things that are in here that you can do if you want to, that you may not know about, but if you look around a little bit or look on the internet somewhere, you can find a tremendous number of things that you can do in a chart in Excel. It's very easy to do, very easy to make a chart, and very easy to edit the chart.